Hii mtu ni mtu ya kisirani. Si ni kweli? Ndiye amesimama mara 6 akianguka. Kwa sababu anaangushwa hata mpaka na Mungu. Kwa sababu ako na kisirani. Kule alizusha mambo ya mapinduzi ya serikali. Wakenya wengi wakakufa huko serikali ya Moi. Amekuja akaangaisha Kibaki hapa katikati. Mara anamuuliza mkeka, mara anamuuliza choo, mara anamsema nini. Muda ikapotea, kazi haikufanyika. Akakuja akadanganya Uhuru. Ile Big Four tulikuwa naye ikazama. Akatupeleka BBI mpaka ikaingia kwa madeni. Sasa ndio huyu amefika tena na mpango ya maandamano, kupiganisha watu, kutumia vijana kuharibu mali. Ndio hiyo maafa imetokea. Ati ndio yeye aturudishe nyuma, tusifanye mpango ya ajira ya hawa vijana. Mimi nataka niulize nyinyi watu wa haraka, mnataka tukubaliane na hii mtu? Tuko pamoja? Nimkalie ngumu. Mnasema nimkalie ngumu. Basi hiyo ni amri. Mnajua sasa nyinyi ndio mmeniajiri. Nimkalie ngumu, awache kuharibu mali. Na awache na vijana wa Kenya kutumia hawa kuharibu mali na kupiganisha watu na kutuletea kisirani. Awachane na mali ya Wakenya. Ndio mumesema? Hebu ni wale wala anasema huyo mtu. Na ndio mimi nataka niwahakikishie. Sawa sawa? Kwa sababu we cannot accept anarchy in the Republic of Kenya. Na ndio mimi nawaambia our handshake brothers, nyinyi mnatumia pesa mlizoiba kupiganisha Kenya, kununua vijana waharibu mali, walete fujo, walete maafa, kwa sababu hamutaki tuendelee kama Wakenya, mnataka kutuweka mateka wenu. Lakini mimi nataka niwaambie tutajikomboa kama Wakenya. Tutahakikisha ya kwamba tumefanya mpango.
Four major things that Ruto's administration can do that can immediately change the tide in this wrangle between Azimio side and this Kenya Kwanza government, okay? Because we know that the Azimio side, in the talks, they were trying to propose something that's going to be outside of the law. And Kenya Kwanza, they maintain that any proposal or any agreement that these two folks are discussing should be anchored in law, should be within the perimeters of the law. And that's what broke down the talks. The talks were suspended because of that. So, what can Ruto and his government do to actually subdue or defeat this Mandamano Azimio side, pro-Mandamano, pro-agitation, Raila side? What can they do? I'll give you 4 reasons. But before I do that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe, like, share, like, and communicate. Tell me what you think in the comment section. So let's get to it, okay? Number 1, I've always mentioned this, communication. We've seen with all the things that happened yesterday during Mandamano, the people destroying the highway in Nairobi, and the skirmishes in Sondu that's going on right now, which are kind of turning into tribal warfare, okay? And other places, whether it was Kibera or whatever the case, Kamkunji grounds, there was some tear gas and all that. The reaction by the government, the way that they communicate, especially their major Kenya Kwanza bigwigs, okay? The Chiragei, Devin D, and who else? I don't know who else was, even Rigathi Gachagua, they have this bellicose vibe about them, okay? They're talking tough. Kindiki came out and say he's even threatened to say they'll arrest Raila Odinga, okay? This is not the language that they should be communicating right now to the public, okay? They have to be very, very careful how they communicate. Improve on that. Number 1, they have to let one person speak. I know most of them are really about their feelings and they are on Twitter and they have to respond to what people are saying in their pages. But in this time where things are really heating up on the ground, let one person speak for the government, whether it's Mr. Hassan or whoever they want to assign to be communicating the government's plans on dealing with these issues, whether it's mandamano, the cost of living, or whatever, so they can be divorced from emotions. You know, when the mandamano is going on and tear gas is happening, it's very easy for somebody to come in and just type how they feel about the situation immediately. They should avoid that, okay? Let's have one person who they assign to address what's going on, and let it be something that's not spoken in emotions, okay? Like Moses Kuria, his tweets and stuff. That's what they need to avoid. They need to be calm, they need to be assuring, and they should communicate how they're going to deal with the cost of living and how they're going to deal with the mandamano, okay? That's number one. Communication should be effective and divorced from emotions. 2, Ruto, when he came to government, he said something very interesting. His number one thing was he will be always abide by the law, sorry, okay? That's a very good thing. So, use the law. Your main reason for not agreeing with Azimio's side was because you told them that you want to abide by the law. If they want to do something, it has to be what? Anchored by the law, worked within the perimeters of the law, okay? So you're a law-abiding part of the government, okay? You are you believe that the rule of law is what you should follow. And Ruto demonstrated that, because the one thing that he did when he came in power, he appointed the judges that Uhuru Kenyatta did not want to appoint. And that was a very good signal to the nation that he'll be a president of the rule of law, but that respects the rule of law, okay? So maintain that. Now, if you're going to abide by the law, you should respect the judiciary, their rulings, whether it's the case against the finance bill with Okiya Omtatah and his team, whether it's the appointments of the CAS that the court ruled that it was unconstitutional. We should not have the Cheregeis again come out and speak, and the Sarah Malims and saying things about the judiciary. If you lose to the judiciary and they ruled against you, respect that decision, okay? Because justice cuts both ways. It might go your way or the other side's way, okay? And like I said, so when I talk about abiding by the law, okay, Okiya Omtatah makes a very appealing case, very good case about why the finance bill is actually unconstitutional, okay? And I've been maintaining this. This finance bill issue can actually be a blessing in disguise, because if you listen to the reasoning behind it, you know, it might force Ruto, if the Supreme Court, now the case has gone to the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court rules against Ruto, it can actually be a good thing, because you know what? It will force Ruto to go back to the drawing board and draw up a finance bill that can be legally passed, okay? Just a quick whatever, and I don't want to make this section long, but I want to say this. The main argument from Okiya Omtatah and Jimmy Wanjigi, they're saying that before the finance bill is passed, okay, the National Assembly should vote on an appropriation bill. An appropriation bill should consist of the estimated revenue, and of course the estimate spending, the budget, the expenses, okay? But the problem is no one ever approves the estimated revenue, the money that is possibly can be collected, because this is what makes an appropriation bill. But nobody always, it's never voted on. The appropriation bill, the estimated revenue is never voted on in the National Assembly, okay? So that's what they're arguing, that should be the appropriation bill, the process in which the vote takes place on that is never takes place. So it's a blessing in disguise, because when it will force Ruto to go back and write something that's based on, actually it will force the National Assembly to go and vote, okay? See vote correctly in regards to the appropriation bill that actually will show, which is the budget actually, which shows what needs to be done, what, and the financial bill that will be drafted, because finance bill is the money that we want to collect from the people, will be drafted in relation to how much the country has, or the estimation of how much money can be collected from the people. And the budget should also fit within that. So that can be a good thing, but I don't want to go deeper into that because that's a topic for another day. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'll go to the next reason, okay? Now I say, number one, they should communicate. Number two, they should abide by the law. Number three, they can use the same law to deal with the people who are in the mandamano. What do I mean? Now, you hear this, everyone. Eden Duale went to Spice FM at times and he mentioned that he has concrete evidence that Uhuru Kenyatta is funding this mandamano, okay? Now, if you know this and you have this evidence, all right? We saw what happened yesterday. We saw a bunch of anarchists go to the expressway in Nairobi and caused anarchy, basically, chaos, you know? They went and destroyed the highway. Now, the Constitution gives people the right to protest peaceably. There was nothing peaceable about that. When you see the youths throwing stones at the police, vandalizing supermarkets, and so forth, that's not peaceably. And we have audio of Raila Odinga actually praising these youths. So these are the evidence that I'm talking about. You can gather this evidence, okay? You say you have evidence that Uhuru Kenyatta is actually funding this movement, okay? Have that evidence, go to courts, and illustrate the link between the organizers and the financiers of this mandamano, and use that to lawfully go after these people. When I say go after these people, it can mean freezing of their personal bank accounts, okay? It can mean detaining some of them, though I won't advise you to go after Raila Odinga. You can go for his minions, the people who are working on the ground, okay? The people who are organizing these youths and telling them to go in these specific areas. I'm sure the government has intel on that. Those are the people who we should go for and detain, okay? While you build a case that you can present in court to charge them with, okay? Because you can't just detain somebody if you don't have any evidence of them doing something wrong, criminal activity. So you can use that intelligence and use the law through the judiciary court, through the prosecutorial process to get these people detained, have their assets and bank accounts frozen in order to slow down this mandamano. Because in any warfare, if you know anything about warfare, the number one thing that your enemy always do is they try to cut your food and money supply. Who's feeding these guys with money? Who's feeding them with anything else? Who's helping them to do the anarchy that they're doing during mandamanos? Because most of these are mandamanos. Some of these places are not peaceful. And if you have evidence that these guys are financing them, then take action and use it. Do it within the perimeters of the law, because Kenya Kwanza, they pride themselves as the party and the administration that wants to live by the rule of the law. So use the law to go after these mandamano people, all right? Number 4, the fourth one, act now. Act now. I just saw Ruto today talk to the Saudis, and he was mentioning about the deal, the petroleum deal that he wants to do with Saudi Arabia to help Kenya so it can bring down the price of oil, okay?
Of the negotiations that are going on, and I really want to appreciate the positive consideration that we are receiving from Saudi Arabia on the supply of fuel products, that shortly, maybe in a month or two, I want to see new prices that will help deliver better prices for our consumers. We can reduce the cost of petroleum products that go to...
As you can see in that speech, that's well and good, but there's some things you can do right now. I would say you can subsidize the consumption part of these commodities that most Kenyans need, like petrol, food, things like that, okay? Do that for a short term while you wait for the harvest and stuff, okay? To help bring the price of the essentials that people need, the mama mbogas and the common hustler, they need that. They need the price of unga to go down so they can afford to buy something to eat. They need the price of the petroleum to go down so they can afford fares, whether it's going to a matatu or a bus or whatever case, or putting it in their piki, those boda. These are the things that the president can actually do now, okay? It can be a short-term measure, but it needs to be done now. Communicate about it. Tell the people what you're doing and let them see the change. Because guess what? If you take care of this problem, whether it's short-term or long-term, this problem of cost of living, then Raila Odinga and his Mandamano brigade will have no foot or feet to stand on, because now they are gaining popularity because they are using this cost of living as their reason for Mandamano, while we all know their initial complaint was that they wanted the IEBC electoral justice, something that already had been adjudicated on at the Supreme Court. They lost on this. But since they don't have any whatever, they just jumped on this cost of living because they know most people are not so happy about the economic state of Kenya. But anyway, those are the four main reasons that Ruto can actually take, 4 steps that Ruto can take to deal with Mandamano and help as it relates to help the situation with the economic situation to deal with the cost of living. So number 1, I mentioned communication. Let one person speak for the government, divorced from emotions. Somebody who's fair-minded, level-headed, and speaks effectively as to what the government is doing to tackle what's going on, okay? So communication is number 1. Number 2, I say, Ruto and his Kenya government, Kenya Kwanza government, pride itself for being the government that follows the rule of law, okay? We are a constitutional constitutional democracy, okay? Use the law, abide by it. So if you lose in your ruling, whether it's the case against Okiya Omtata with the finance bill, okay, that can be a blessing in disguise. Go back to the drawing board, make sure all the process in which you are drafting these things, give a reasonable finance bill that's not going to hinder or be a pain or a pinch on Mama Mboga, okay? So abide by the law. So if the ruling goes against you, respect it. Don't go out there and communicate things like Cheragay, talking about the judiciary has been bought and so forth, okay? Number 3, I mentioned, use the same law, since you are all about law, okay? Use the same law to go against the Mandamano people, okay? The people who are causing destruction. But when I say use the law, you have to have the evidence, okay? You say Uhuru Kenyatta is funding this thing. Prove it, bring it to court. Use that to go after their assets. Freeze their personal bank account if you need to, and take any legal action that you can take to subdue and deal with these Mandamano people. Trust me, if you cut down the money supply, you'll be surprised and amazed to see how this Mandamano will dwindle, okay? And number 4, act now, okay? There's things that you can do. Like I say, you can provide subsidies as far as on the consumption side of this economy, like the commodities, petrol, food, all that. If you do that, even if for 6 months, okay? Let people feel that that purchasing power. Let them feel like they are able to buy stuff again, afford stuff, afford food, afford petrol, so they can do business and carry out their daily activities, okay? If you do that, the Mandamano people who are agitating for Mandamano because of the cost of living will have nothing to stand on, because now, if they start talking about the electoral justice, nobody cares about electoral justice. The elections happened, I don't know how many months ago, no one cares about. So if you deal with this, take action now and communicate effectively, use the rule of law, you will be back on track. But all this tough talk by Gachagua, Cheragay, and the rest, it will just exacerbate the situation. Remember Uhuru, when he was being criticized by the people, instead of dealing with the problem, he used to go out there and actually cuss out people, which made people even more mad. So don't make the same mistake that your predecessor made, all right? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. My name is Kenyan Revolutionary. I'll talk to you guys later. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. All right? Peace.